This is Charlie Cooke. Charlie and I co-founded Coerver Coaching nearly 26 years ago, based on Will Coerver's ideas. But I'm going to speak to Charlie as one of the great players, I think, in British soccer history. And Charlie was an individual player, but I'm going to ask him what effect Coerver could have had, or the Coerver method could have had when he was a young player. So Charlie, you're a skillful player. If you'd had a coach that taught you Coerver, how would it help you?
Well, number one, when I was younger, didn't have as much perhaps coaching as players get today. But I think my reaction would have been exactly the same as the reaction we've got from ex-pro players, from the biggest names to the smallest names in the pro game. After they stop the game and they watch practices, Coerver practices, to a man, they always say, if I'd been doing that myself when I was younger, I would be better. I think we've all got to admit that if you're doing those kind of practices at the earlier stages, you're just going to be better with the ball, more fluent, and just more flexible in many of the movements that are required to be successful.
Now, Charlie, you know, when we've devised the Coerver program over the years, you've been a great advocate of speed. The fact that speed, it's not skill alone, but speed is kind of maybe at the heart of making the player effectively use that skill. Just give me some idea, give people watching your ideas on why speed is important in football.
Well, when you say speed, it's not running off the ball speed all the time as it used to be in England, and certainly very often when you get to the pro level, they're talking about systems of play and where players are going to be running during a game. We're much more about possession type of play, so it's quickness in thinking, quickness with the ball, off the ball, over short distances, and be able to do things quickly with the ball that seems to separate the very great players and good players that they pay bazillions for to bring to this country. So I would say that all the English players, most young English pros, are as tough, as good at fighting, with fighting spirit, and they can do all the things physically, almost
tactically
any of them. Well, tactically as well, very sophisticated, but when it comes to the actual work with the ball, first touch, a subtle first touch, and just movement with the ball where there's a little bit more subtlety about the play and unpredictability. One thing I always noticed immediately when we played internationally, whether that was with Chelsea or with Scotland, was you'd play every week against English league teams and you knew exactly what to expect. But as soon as you played against a Spanish team or an Italian team, there was that more subtle first touch and the immediate control of the ball, and so it made you suddenly just take a little bit more time, and you didn't go in quite as fiercely or as quickly as you might have done. So all these little things, all these subtle touches, the simple thing of playing the ball with the outside of the foot, that was one thing it caught us many times unawares. You're playing against foreign opposition, you go into challenge because in England you always took the extra step and played the safe ball with the inside of the foot. Many of these foreign teams would actually get the ball in the front foot and play it off the front foot, which took one step less, caught you on the hop.
Now, Charlie, our new work, if you like, in the future is going to focus on the whole player development, right? I mean, you know, of course we're football teachers and the program's a football program, but both you and I have sort of said that our goal is to develop the whole person. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, we know for sure that the best players have usually got a well-rounded personality. We want to just develop kids who can live through competition and live through it well. We want to develop kids through competition in the real world, and so they get good attitudes towards competition, towards winning and losing, so they can win and lose well, and that's a huge asset going into adulthood, whether it's playing soccer, where it's just being an individual in society. So we feel there's an overarching good that we're applying for here, that the kids come out with than simply soccer skills.
Right, and that good, that whole person involves also what you eat, what you drink, knowledge about that. So I think we're getting to areas of that whole player development. And would you agree that it's about their behaviour as well? Because when we expect our players who come to the Coerver coaching program to behave in a good way.
Absolutely, it's in our mission statement. It may have sounded a little bit far-reaching, high hopes way back 26 years ago, but the fact is we are trying to develop kids who've got the right attitude towards competition, towards opponents, towards referees, towards teammates. And we think that the best players who come out of that kind of atmosphere provide the best people in society, but also the best players in the game. The best players in the game have got great discipline, even under extreme circumstances, and these are the guys that win championships and win big tournaments for their coaches. So coaches are looking for those kind of players who are disciplined with excellent skills, but all the other attributes of a well-disciplined athlete.
Yeah. And finally, Charlie, this is 27 years we've been in this. We're in 28 countries. Where do you see the future of Coerver?
I can only see Coerver continuing to spread. I think the thing that we're selling, if you want to call it selling, is we're selling something that's a great thing both for kids, for parents, for the game at large, and for society at large. Hopefully we're going to be developing kids who come out of the programme vastly different to the kids who are perhaps coming out of many other programs at the present time. I don't mean that to be knocking other programs, but I think the ideal kid who comes out of Coerver is a very well-rounded and usually quite gifted individual.
Thanks, Charlie.